And it's just common sense. You can't have somebody purchase something blindly.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I've got a couple competitors out there in the world that don't, they claim to be insured, but they're really not, right? So I'm kind of going down that path. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Hicks, the CEO of New Leaf Service Contracts. You're joining us today on Covered by New Leaf. Our guest is Jose Menendez, who is the president and CEO of Applied Warranty Services. On our episode today, we're going to talk about why you need to have compliant terms and conditions in your state, how you have an insurance company that backs your program, and we're going to learn some really interesting bits about the career that Jose has had. All right, Jose, welcome to Covered by New Leaf. We're very excited to have you here with us today. You're joining us from Spain. Tell us a little bit how it is that you are in Spain.
Thank you for having me. We are actually quoting some large projects out here, and just had to get out here, and so I'm spending the weekends in Alicante, but most of the time has been split between London and Madrid. But it's great weather, a lot of fun to be out here.
You know, it's a hard life, Jose, but somebody's got to do it, right? Well, Jose, you're the president and CEO of Applied Warranty Services, and you have been the underwriter and obligor for New Leaf's business now for, I'm going to say it's been almost 10 years now that we've been doing business together. And I'm excited that you're here because we're wanting to make sure that the independent retailers really understand the importance of having underwriting and having the appropriate regulatory compliance in place for their service contract programs, right? So why don't we start with who is Applied Warranty Services, and tell us, how you got to being the CEO and president of Applied Warranty Services.
So I'll give you a little bit of background. We actually started our relationship under a different company, a different entity. I was the chief insurance officer and chief operating officer of Generali. It's an Italian insurance company. I was the head of underwriting for the U.S. division. We met. We started the obligor, and we had the insurance company. So we got into that relationship. We developed all of the regulatory issues, right? So flips, the obligor license in all the states, all the different lines, etc. And then in 2021, a decision was made by Generali to essentially leave the market in certain lines of business. And I had an opportunity to take that division over to Applied Underwriters. And we did that at the end of 2021. I'll give you a little bit of background on Applied Underwriters. So Applied Underwriters is a privately held entity. They have an insurance group, the North American Casualty Group, that's made up of 5 insurance companies. They also, there's a separate part that is the active MGAs writing business in the market, and that is United Risk Global. So I kind of fall into both categories. I'm part of the obligor, the risk taker, and the clips on the insurance side, and I'm also acting as an MGA on other business. So Applied Underwriters is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. United Risk is headquartered in New York, and my group is down in Miami. But again, we are A-rated. We underwrite the risk. We are the ultimate risk taker on these warranties.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's talk about a couple things that you shared there. One of the very first things was you talked about being A-rated. Can you describe why that's important and why an independent retailer would want to make sure that you've got an A-rated insurance company on your book?
Yeah, so there are several rating agencies, but the US is AM Best. They do a financial review, and like in school, if you get an A, you did well. You got a D, you didn't do so well.
Right, right.
So A-rated is a highly rated company. We are a large group, so that's the importance. It's the financial security of the entity.
So basically, for an independent retailer, if you don't have an A-rated carrier, the likelihood that not the likelihood, that's the wrong way to say it, but the fact that if you're not rated A, you're not very financially sound. But if you are rated A, you're extremely financially sound, and the
Financially,
likelihood you'll be around to take care of the losses on that book is excellent.
exactly. So, and there's, as you know, there's multiple layers in the warranty. You have the obligor that obligates itself to repair or replace. And then you have the insurance company that stands behind that obligation or the obligor to make sure that there is enough money to do that. So ultimately, while the obligor solvency is key, ultimately the issuer of the contractual liability insurance policy, which is an insurance company, that is the ultimate risk taker and who's underwriting the risk.
Right. And you hit on something too that I think a lot of people here in our industry and they don't really understand. And that's CLIP, contractual liability insurance policy, right? So the CLIP is the actual insurance policy that's issued to back the obligations underneath the service contract. Correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. So let's kind of go back to the beginning when we were with you at Generali. Generali was obviously, I think at the time, maybe the fourth largest insurance company in the world
Yep.
out of Italy, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And so from that perspective, we knew that we were going to be doing business with a really big carrier. And you said that they wanted to exit lines of business. Really, what that meant was it wasn't that Generali was getting out of the insurance business. They just wanted to get out of the service contract space in the United States.
Exactly. They just it was not so when we developed it in the US, it was not something that they understood very well. And so it took a long time to get them to understand what we were doing, how we were doing it. Um, they liked the business. They were doing it in other parts of the world, but in the US and based on US regulatory requirements, et cetera, generally felt that they should exit. Um, I had an opportunity to take that division elsewhere. So I actually retired from Generali after almost 20 years and took it over to Applied.
Yeah. No, and I knew that. So, and obviously that was exciting for us because you went from one A-rated carrier to another A-rated carrier, and you also write other pieces of business besides just the appliance warranties for New Leaf. You write travel insurance and some other lines. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of those, just so that we have a better understanding of applied warranty service?
As I mentioned before, we have Applied Warranty Services, and then we have another division that's Global Go Assurance. And Global Go Assurance is a provider of travel insurance. We also do some, event ticket cancellation. We're active in using those same contractual liability insurance policies in other lines, because in this is something that, contractual liability insurance policy, somebody obligates themselves to do something, and then the insurance policy is backing that contractual liability. That's why it's a contractual liability insurance policy. So we do that. We do some additional like warranty on hearing aids through a group called My Essentials. So we are very diverse in the business that we do, and we manage two different divisions. One is strictly the obligor and the insurance company, and then we do the Global Go is really acting as an MGA and doing some direct deals with very large OTAs or online travel agencies, traditional travel, call center travel agencies. aggregators of travel insurance, et cetera. So we have those two groups. And that's part of what I'm doing here, right? So we're doing some deals in Europe with the warranty side, but there's also a lot going on the travel side, as many of my clients in the US are expanding into Europe and the UK. So we're here placing some of the business. We've got an interesting group that does destination weddings. So we're putting together a destination wedding insurance program for them. So it's part of what I like. It's the technical side, it's the underwriting side, it's the policy building, et cetera. We're not a sales organization. We are technical. We have underwriters, we have compliance and legal, and we have actuaries. And we build products for distribution.
Got it. Got it. And so, if I don't want to say a particular client, but let's say that uh, if you bought an airline ticket and you get offered that cancellation insurance or the travel insurance, that's what you're backing, right? So
Yes.
it's very similar to a warranty on an appliance, but it's a warranty for the fact that that trip will occur. And if it doesn't, then you get some coverage, right? I mean, that's really what travel insurance is doing for you.
And the big distinction is that, it's the warranty business is insurance like, and the travel insurance and the other pieces are insurance. So licensing to be able to distribute, et cetera. So there's that's a distinction. One is insurance like, which is the warranty world, and the other one is pure insurance.
Got it. So very similar to what we see in our space, which is the device insurance, right? That you see the handheld insurance that's sold at like the your mobile electronics, not mobile, but your phone stores, right? The AT&T, T-Mobiles, that type of stuff. So very similar to that type of a product.
Yes. So we actually, you can take a warranty, and once you add the loss and theft, you kind of turned it into insurance. So that we do with the hearing aid program with My Essentials is essentially we took a warranty and provided the loss and theft of the devices. Now it became insurance, and that's an insurance product.
Got it. Okay. So in that case, at My Essentials, if somebody gets a $6,000 pair of hearing aids and they lose one of them, that would be covered underneath that type of a plan. And that's what kind of kicks it over into insurance. Whereas in my world, we don't offer if you lose your washer and dryer that you get some coverage,
Yeah,
right? We don't
that's your
offer that.
homeowners. That's your homeowners policy
Yeah.
should be
Got it.
kicking
Yeah.
in.
One thing too, I want to talk about is one thing that I miss for you not being part of Generali anymore is the Generali wine that we used to be able to get from you. So would you just talk about that just for a second? Because I don't think anybody knows that Generali, the fourth largest insurance company in the world, is also a producer of, I'm going to say, some of the best red wine I've ever drank. So talk just a hair about that and about you used to run that business too.
Yeah, so we generally, now that there's been a lot of growth in a lot of insurance companies, that are probably down to about number 10 in the world as some of the Chinese companies grow, et cetera. But Generali owns vineyards in northern Italy, and I believe Generali in Generali France, the division in France owns one in Bordeaux. And we in New York, we acquired an importer and distributor, and then we started importing wine from Italy, mostly the Generali wines, and then there were some deals with smaller vineyards producing some amazing wines. So yes, we part of my salary was paid in wine. I missed that. I missed that very much. So Generali, Gen Agricola is one of their divisions, and it's, I believe, the largest agricultural company in Italy that's owned by Generali. So, and that's where the vineyards fall under.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, let's, I'll get off of generality and get over to applied because that's where you're spending your life these days. So obviously you're a significant owner in the applied business that you brought over to applied. Um, how's the relationship with applied been for you since you spent 20 years at generality and you got applied to acquire the warranty services, the obligor licensing, you got them to do all those things. And, so being an owner, you're a partner with Applied now. And how's that relationship been for you?
It has been an amazing experience. I report into the chairman and the CEO, Steve Menzies, Jamie Sahara, two very amazing individuals. And I mean this not because they're my bosses and my partners, but because it's the reality. They're men of their word. They've just they told me you have free reign to run, and I swear to you, I I, I just run, and they're never in the way. They're very supportive. Um, it's an interesting group. If you look up Steve Menzies and some of his charities, I probably shouldn't talk too much about them, but he does some amazing things around the world. Um, so it is a good group of people. The team that's been built around them, is amazing. A lot to be said for the people from Omaha. Great team, dedicated. That's really all of our back office. It sits there, and like I said, I couldn't be happier. Um, and they just I can't say enough. Honestly, Generali was a great company, but it was a corporate. It's big corporate. This is a family business. You are part of a very big family because we've grown so much over the last couple of years. And it's just been so exciting. And I'm thrilled.
Yeah. So Applied obviously does more than just what you're talking about here today with me.
Yeah,
I know just a little bit about Applied. So from that standpoint, I know Applied does a lot of workman's comp. I think that was kind of the foundation. And
right.
you're doing everything from workman's comp to airplane insurance to art
Yeah.
insurance.
So
Talk a little bit about
yeah.
Applied generally.
So Applied went from mostly, well, the North American Casualty Group, the group of insurance companies, went from mostly doing workers' comp to almost doing no workers' comp and involved in aviation, space, fine arts, general liability, trucking. Uh, there's 25 divisions actively writing business. There is a group out of London. There's a new insurance company in Malta that they've stood up. They're in the process of doing some stuff at Lloyd's. So expansion has been hard to keep up. There's press releases almost every week on something new that they're doing, and I don't know how they have the time, but apparently they do. And it's being led by Steve and Jamie and a great team behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, with its headquarters or its back office being in Omaha, as I recall, Steve and the investment team acquired this business from Berkshire Hathaway, right?
Yeah. So they sold it to Berkshire Hathaway many years ago, and then they bought it back in 2019.
Got it. Okay. Great. Yeah. Obviously, it just shows that Applied has been a phenomenal asset over the years to, have been acquired by Berkshire Hathaway. They've done their thing, then they sold it. You guys have continued to grow it. So, no wonder Applied is an A-rated insurance carrier and a really good person to have on the risk for us.
Yeah, I want to say that they've literally, I think that the insurance portfolio alone has more than doubled in the last 4 years. So it's a phenomenal job, and the growth has been, amazing. They've acquired a lot of great talent. That I will tell you. I've been around a long time, and some of the people are very impressive. Not some, all of
Yeah,
them.
well, I would say if you got somebody that knows how to set the risk on, let's say, a rocket going into space, you got some pretty
Yeah,
damn smart
he's
people there,
pretty good.
Jose. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
whole space and aviation, they are, yeah. There's also the entertainment group that have done, shows, they insure events around the world. So there's a lot of great people and by the way, it's not just the heads of these divisions. The support staff is because, I can do everything to a certain point. If I don't have a great team behind me, like, as you know, Danny is my key. Um, you know, I have Katie, Sarah, and these are all people that are heads of divisions, whether it's the underwriting, it's my legal and compliance, and it's my actuarial team. These are people that you depend on, that are really the ones that are doing the work. Just the pretty face, in front of the business. The applied underwriters group has great support staff, and it's not just that they're smart, but they're also really good people. I can't sit and say, I sort of don't like this. Whether you go to Omaha or you go to the office in New York, it's hugs, it's kisses, it's a family thing. So I'm just thrilled to be part of them.
great. That's great to hear, Jose. And as a good friend of mine, I'm excited for you too. That's when you enjoy what you
Thank you.
do every day. The cliche says it's not work, right? So, and
It's not. Listen,
yeah,
I'm old and I'm going to keep
yeah,
going because I'm
yeah.
having a
No, I
great
hear you.
time.
Yeah. So let's break down. So we've talked a lot about Applied. Applied's A-rated. We know it's got a lot of good risk. It's got financially secure. So that means that every warranty that New Leaf issues out in the space has got a lot of financially secure backing. There's the likelihood that New Leaf's warranty would ever have a problem is non-existent. Now, non-existent, right? And so in the warranty space, we have a lot of legality stuff, right? You have to have every service contract. You have to have an administrator, you have to have an obligor, and you have to have an underwriter, right, or a carrier. So, in what you do with me, New Leaf happens to be the administrator. Applied Warranty Services and other entities happens to be our obligor. And then your North American Insurance Group that we talked about earlier is the underwriter. So
Yes,
obviously we have 50 states, and so we have 50 sets of regulation for our plan.
more than that. Actually, more than that, because home is regulated differently than auto, than electronics, and so there's a lot of compliance.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yep.
of compliance in licensing and
Yep. And so that's something too that you brought up that I'm glad that you did, because New Leaf not only does extended warranties at retail, but we do home warranties through marketing partners. And so uh, we'll talk a little bit about the new business that you and I recently worked on here a little bit later. But So in the case of the retailers that we do business with, that we have to have the obligor, and the underwriters on.
Some require some of the filing of the rates.
So Jose, when you say words, you mean the terms and conditions that we issue to the customers, right?
Yes. Yeah, I apologize. I'm using insurance terms. Yes, the terms and conditions that are issued to the individuals, the customers. States, there are states that you need to file. There's states that you need to show the rates. The renewing of licenses. So there's an ecosystem that occurs when somebody goes to that retailer and they purchase a warranty that triggers so many things that is beyond just purchasing an appliance, right? Because you're acquiring a contract that's insurance like, that is backed by an obligor, that has an administrator who will answer the phone, who will send the repair person or will replace the appliance. You have the insurance company that sits behind it, the licensing requirements that you need to have for the obligor, the licensing requirements that you need to have for the insurance companies. It is a very heavily regulated transaction right after the purchase of that warranty. Everything is very regulated. You have to prove your solvency. You have to file financials with many of the states, et cetera. So it is a relatively regulated transaction from right after the point of sale.
Right, right. And when we talk about terms and conditions that are given to a customer, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years, obviously. So I'm going to say some things that I know is true, but I just want you to kind of, advocate or talk about it for me. Is obviously terms and conditions should always be made available to the customer prior to sale. If they want to read it, a customer has the legal right to read the terms and conditions in advance if they choose to. So they have to be available in the retail store, either online or in written form, right?
Yes, sir. But I think that holds true of just about any contract that you enter into, right? You have to do it an insurance policy. You have to make that, and it's just common sense. You can't have somebody purchase something blindly.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I've got a couple competitors out there in the world that don't, they claim to be insured, but they're really not. Right. So I'm kind of going down that path of some of the things that I think retailers will see. And then in the terms and conditions, you need to identify who your administrator is. You need to identify who your obligor is, and you need to identify who your insurance company is. And you need to have a cut through to the insurance company in the event that the customer is unhappy with the decisions from the administrator, right? Has to be there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times retailers don't look at that type of stuff because retailers sell product. They don't sell service contracts other than they sell them in their store and they don't understand the regulatory environment. But my goal here with Covered by New Leaf is to make sure we educate the retailers. So that's why we're going through this, Jose.
Well,
Uh,
the retailer needs to understand that a regulator will not just question the administrator or the obligor or the insurance company. They will also question, in case of wrongdoing, the retailer.
right.
So it's critical that that retailer understand that they are selling a literally a regulated product. So, the last thing you want is an insurance department or worse, a state attorney general knocking on your door.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I'm gonna just say it this way. There's a state that's the southernmost state on the East Coast that I know that as a seller of service contracts, if you are not appropriately licensed, you are subject to a fine of $10,000 per
Mm.
incident,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a retailer, let's say they just sold 10 contracts in the state, $10,000, they owe $100,000 to that particular state. So the likelihood that a retailer really could get into some financial trouble here is real. I mean, if they don't have a properly
Absolutely.
written program that they're selling in their store.
Absolutely. And we see not only do we see these unregulated products or non-compliant products being pushed out there on the warranty side, we also see it in travel. We've seen some of that. Regulators eventually get to it, and when they do, they are very harsh in their penalties.
Yeah, because you think about it, I mean,
So, yeah,
their constituents are being hurt, right? And I mean, the Department of Insurance.
customer. Yep, yep. It's all about consumer protection, and every state has a lot of laws on consumer protection.
Right. Right. So obviously, terms and conditions, you've got to identify the three main components. And then in your terms and conditions, um, I think the longest part of my terms and conditions happens to be the state regulatory guidelines that are attached to
Yes.
the policy.
Yeah,
Talk
mandatory.
to us.
So they're the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So each state will have requirements for their state, and you're required to put out on a state by state basis what those regulations are and how they affect the consumer. That is true of the warranty business. It is also true of any insurance policy. You will see a page typically at the end. It goes state by state, and it's what amends the standard wording to comply with the state wording.
Yeah, and I know in my warranty business, the main changes that we usually see are things like I may have a cancellation language that's in the main policy, but a particular state might say, "Oh no, Sean, your cancellation language in my state is this," and that's what
Right.
appears there. And we are obligated as the administrator and as the obligor at Applied to abide by the state's language for cancellations in that particular state. And so as a retailer, if you don't have terms and conditions, you don't know who your administrator is, you don't know who the obligor is, you don't know who the insurance company is,
You
and if you
shouldn't be
don't
selling
have
warranties.
right,
You
and if
shouldn't
you
be selling
don't have
warranties
state
if you don't
language,
know.
yeah, you don't have state language in your terms and conditions, you are selling a non-compliant product, right, Jose?
Absolutely. And the
Yep.
best thing you could do is not sell it.
Yeah.
That's the reality because the penalties are hefty, uh, and not worth the dollar that you're making on warranty.
Yeah, now I hear you. So, on the also on the warranty side, from your side of the business, we do a lot of work together on the loss analysis. Which, from a retailer's perspective, I always kind of educate them this way, and that is that I collected $1 in premium that goes into the account to pay claims, and the loss analysis measures how much of that dollar I spend in claims. Right. And so you and I are targeting to spend 90 cents out of every dollar that we put into this so that 10 cents is actually used by your company to handle all of the work that you did and get a limited amount of profit out of it, right? So could you maybe just add a little bit more to
Yeah.
that from a technically than what I just
Yeah.
added?
No, it's so we do a lot of loss reserving, and that's part of the actuarial team. They do the pricing. We price at a 90% loss ratio. That 10% is really our overhead. Um, and they don't, the actuarial doesn't always get it right. So sometimes we may go over that 90%.
Right.
Um, but that's really the idea is that we're pricing at that level. Um, and the 10% is really our operating costs and potentially 2% profit, which is typical of the insurance and the risk taking, right? It's a volume play. You're not making a lot of money on a single policy. You're doing it on the volume. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I tell people that a lot of times too. My average dealer cost is roughly $55, right? And if we're multi tens of millions, it takes a lot of $55 in order to get there. So, even in my space, on the warranty side, it's purely based upon volume, right? Getting more customers and trying to get in there, spreading the risk, right? I mean, it's insurance basically.
And that's the insurance like. It is about spreading the risk.
Yep. And from the loss analysis, talk about who does that. Who is the professional that does that?
Well, we've got a team. So on your book, Juan is the head actuary on your book. He actually is an XAIG actuary that we brought over a couple of years ago. And he does essentially, he's working on your pricing and your analysis, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. There's a lot of activity. So he's very active in that portfolio. He's supported by a few other people. There's a young lady by the name of Ariana Menendez, happens to be my daughter, who also works on the program and keeps an eye on the results, the financials. So, and she's tasked with ultimately communicating with your team on terms and conditions, on the results, the data transfer, et cetera. So, I said before, it's a family business. Yes, even my daughter works for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it is a family business.
sure. Let's talk a little bit about Juan's background. Does he, my understanding is that most actuaries actually have a college degree in actuarial sciences, right? So, I mean, that's an actual,
Yeah.
college degree that they need to have in order to do the actuarial work that he
And
does.
he has all of the certifications of an actuary. I forget. I should know this off the top of my head. I think it's like 7 exams that they have to go through. I don't remember right now, but so yes, he is a legitimate actuary, not some kid who knows math.
Right, right. Yeah, because I always tell people that the warranties that we sell are really the life insurance of your washer and your dryer, right? I
Yes,
mean, that's what it is.
yes,
Yep.
yep. It's a term life insurance policy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Jose, you've been very, very helpful in helping me explain to the independent retailers about the warranty business and about Applied. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about your personal career. You have a fascinating career that I'd like to share with everybody. Talk a little bit about how you started in the insurance business and have evolved to, you were the chief underwriter for Generali when I first met you, and then just, kind of how that evolved, how you got to where you are
Okay.
today.
So I, right out of school in 1981, I went to work for an insurance company in Paramus, New Jersey, a privately held company. The chairman was a gentleman, the company is no longer around, but he is. His name is Chris Yagan. He actually kind of became a mentor to me. Um, he gave me back then, companies had management training programs, and I got to rotate through, started out in accounting, went to underwriting, went to claims. I even spent some time in IT, audit, um, and I worked for that company for about 8 years. It was in 1988 that there was a large number of insolvencies in the insurance world, and that company turned out to be one of them. So I was the head of reinsurance by that time. The state took over the company. I was asked to stay on as the head of the reinsurance because reinsurance becomes the largest asset in any insurance company insolvency. Um,
Right, you have all the
and
money in that.
then, yep, it's where reinsurance is really the insurance on the insurance company. For those who don't know, and then I when I left, I went to work for a consulting company that specialized in insolvencies. And I did that for about another 8 years, 9 years.
So in that role,
And
that's an
then,
interesting role. So in that case, you would actually step into insurance companies in states that had problems, right? I mean, you were doing that all over
yep,
the United
yep,
States.
yep. I had a desk at the New York Liquidation Bureau, which is part of the insurance department. They saw the largest number of insolvencies in New York. I worked on insolvencies out of Missouri, out of California, New Jersey, New York. So very active period, the late 80s through probably the mid to late 90s in the insolvency world. And then I went into, the world was going to end in 2000, 99 into 2000. And because of my insurance background, et cetera, I did a deal with a software company that at the time was a reinsurance system that was actually 2000 compliant or didn't have an issue with the year 2000 as many other systems did. So I worked on system sales and in implementation of systems and the controls of insurance and mostly around accounting transactions, et cetera. And then in 2002, Generali, 2004, Generali had a large portfolio in London that they needed to do a runoff. They needed to run that portfolio off. So I was offered the position of CEO of that company. So I moved to London for a period of 3 years. During that time, I got the privilege of working on the International Holocaust Commission, the Holocaust era claims. Generally, was a large insurance company in Eastern Europe, the 1800s, 1900s. So I got involved in the organization I check, and also in the claims process and managing large claims. You know, that was life altering. I have to say, that was sorry.
Yeah, I would say, Jose, I would say anything that's
That was a
that
difficult.
close. Yeah, that close to what happened in World War II, to the Jewish population. I can only
Yeah.
imagine how terrible that would have been.
To
So
to see family trees and where people perished and stuff. It was difficult.
I can imagine.
Yep. And then in 2008, I was brought back to Generali in the U.S. as chief operating officer. I eventually became the chief insurance officer. And as chief insurance officer, you're responsible for underwriting, actuarial, and claims. So I had all of the technical areas. And then, as we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, um, I got the opportunity. It took a long time. We had the conversations, or I had the conversations with Steve Menzies. I'd applied in early, about mid 2020. We finally did a deal by the end of 2020, and then it took that same state you talked about almost a year to approve the deal. So I was managing the team. Still, they were working for Generali, but because I was an officer and also board member of many of the Generali companies and stuff, I had to resign to be able to negotiate the deal. But I was still managing the team. Yeah. So I spent a very long time waiting for that state, that southern state, to approve the transaction. And that was finally approved at the end of 2021. And away we went running with Applied.
So obviously you've had a phenomenal career, Jose. You give us a good you gave us a good history of your career. You've got a great knowledge of insurance because, I mean, obviously that management program that you got to be in the initial company got you access to every department, right? So you learned how insurance companies work from the very beginning. And I think that's a phenomenal opportunity for a lot of young people coming out if they can get into management programs like that. Would you now let's kind of talk about your leadership style and how you approach leadership every day with your team. How do you handle that?
They're, as I remind them every day, they're big boys and girls, and they have to learn to manage. They have to learn. I do not baby the team. It's I put a lot of trust. I do have a saying that I use a lot. I don't have a problem if they screw up. Only people that do work screw up. Those that don't do anything can't screw anything up. So if you screw something up, come to me. Let's fix it. Figure out a way to fix it. I worry about those that don't screw up because then I have to question what they're doing. As humans, we will make mistakes. So my management skill is I'm very active in all of the activities, but I allow people to be able to prove themselves. I don't micromanage. Um, it is important to build trust in your team. As I said, I've got people working for me that have been with me since I came back from London in 2008. They left Generali to come with me. So, you know, and these are people that are amazing, uh, highly technical, could go get a job anywhere else, but they like the environment. I have a very easy style when it comes to the work. Family life is important. I press that. I'm not a big fan of the remote work, but I have it's no choice. You know, back offices in Omaha, have some of the accounting people in New York. I mentioned Katie, our head actuary. She's in San Diego because she used to work for a Generali company in San Diego. I wasn't going to make her relocate. So
Well, San Diego's not bad
it's
weather either, Jose.
no,
No, yeah, yeah.
not at all,
Yeah.
not at all, not at all.
So, I think Jose,
So
that says a lot about you. That people that were working at Generali back in 2004 or five came with you to Applied, right? So that means that you create an environment that people want to be a part of, and people are willing to jump into to succeed. And one thing that I've noticed about you that I think is great, and is something that I try to do, is I put a lot of trust and responsibility on young people. I think that the only way young people are going to learn is by having that responsibility, right? To say that just because you've only been in this business for 5 years or 4 years or whatever, doesn't matter. They're smart people. They can figure it out. And so I've seen you do that a lot. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
yeah. So I because and again I'll mention his name because he really is that important to me. Because of Chris Yagan, uh, I was given an opportunity as a young kid, right, to really develop my skills, and I was given those opportunities. I am big on that. There are people that you may remember, Catherine,
Yeah.
who she left when we were still at Generali. To this day. Um, she was one of the people that I mentored at Generali, and to this day, we're still in touch. I'm still a reference for her whenever she's applying for a job, etc. So, um, I, I, I try to pass it on. Chris Yagan did something great for me. And it's funny. I recently had a conversation with him, and I said, I am who I am because of you. And he said, no, in spite of him. And I said, no, I will never forget. I will never forget where my life really changed. So
Yep.
very grateful.
Yeah, I understand
So
that.
I try to pass that on.
Yeah, I had a mentor myself, 24 years old. Jack West put me in charge of a service center in Florence, Alabama, and I had technicians that worked for Sears longer than I had been alive, and it was a phenomenal learning experience. And I've always believed that putting trust and responsibility on younger people is a true key to success. Is there any
Yep.
training program, book that you believe in, anything like that that we might be able to share with the leaders of the independent retailers that might watch our podcast?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I can't. I don't have. I am one of those guys that I have to read so much for work and keeping up with emails and stuff that I really have no time to read and anything outside of. I know that as a kid, right? As a 22-year-old, 21-year-old, there was a great reinsurance book that gave me um, gave me a lot of background. And if there's anybody in the insurance world, it's that silly green book, and everybody will know what it is. But it's I am so. Ariana, who I mentioned before, she spends a lot of time in the websites of the states with the
States, right?
regulatory changes and stuff. I tend to read those. Uh,
Yeah.
for
Wow, you're
whatever
exciting,
reason.
Jose. I want to make sure that I don't go hang out with you reading insurance law. That sounds a little dry there, but hey.
That is, that is to me, because it one slight misunderstanding of state regulation could get you in trouble. That's why we have a dedicated resource to literally looking at regulation. But I also, whenever she spots a change, I sit and read. We also have, compliance team that reviews all of the regulation stuff. So, but I can't, it's probably something my children have thought that I would benefit from reading so that I can relax. Um, nah,
Not for
work.
you. Okay. Got it. Got it. So, Jose, what do you do for fun? I mean, I know what you do, but why don't you kind of share with the group with what is the relaxation for Jose Melendez? What is your relaxation?
My relaxation is cigars. I am an avid cigar smoker. In Miami, I am a member of Empire Social, which is a very nice cigar lounge. Actually, they just did a documentary, and I was in it. Just kind of cool. Um, I'm a. This is horrible. I'm a 3 to 4 cigar a day guy.
Got it. Okay.
Like on this trip, I brought 4 boxes of cigars. And I've had to buy some additional cigars because I'm starting to, to feel that I'm going to run out.
Yeah.
And trust me, the first thing I'm going to do when we are done with this podcast is I'm going to go have a cigar.
Got it. Got
But
it.
yeah, so, we talked about managing the team while we were waiting for regulatory approval from that state. I literally sat in that cigar lounge. They opened at 12, and I would sit in the cigar lounge, open up my laptop, and I would do video calls, emails, and stuff from the cigar lounge because that became my office. I'm not good at working from home, even though I'm sitting here and it looks like I'm home. I have a whole outdoor area that I go sit at. But yeah, that cigar lounge, sat there and managed the team for 8 months.
Yeah. So if somebody's in Miami, they're a cigar smoker, I need to tell them to go to the Empire Cigar Lounge.
Empire Social. Yep.
Empire
Empire
Social. Got
Social.
it.
11,
Jose.
1106 South Miami Avenue. Because I order enough food there from Uber Eats.
That's funny. Jose, I got to tell you, it's been a real pleasure to have you on Covered by New Leaf. If somebody wanted to reach you, how could they get hold of you? I know you're on LinkedIn. We'll post your LinkedIn contact information, but how else could somebody reach out to you?
Well, the easiest is to send an email to our info mailbox. It's info@awis.auw.com. So info@awiz.auw.com. We have a team that looks at that mailbox and we will be responding to it.
Great. That's awesome. And then the website for your piece of the applied business is?
awiz@auw.com.
Got it.
So
Awesome.
awis.auw.com.
Got it. Thank you. Jose, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Covered by New Leaf today.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Great to see you.